I feel like Google Ads is constantly changing, from what I knew it to be and what it looked like to what it is today. I was looking at I think it was a Search Engine Journal article, and they were talking about three big things that every B2B marketer and really marketer in general should be aware of in 2022. So I want to talk through those first. The first one is the future of measurement. So everyone's been impacted by iOS 14, some more than others, but kind of talk me through the future of measurement in Google Ads this year.
The future is going to be server-side tracking. Google already has this available. So essentially, what does that mean? That basically means tying your conversions to your CRM data. So Google has an integration with Salesforce where you can do this, but essentially counting conversions based on activity that happens in your CRM. So a new lead gets created in your CRM, or a new opportunity or a new closed won deal. You can push those signals back into Google Ads to record them as conversions. So that's going to be huge, especially with things like iOS 14 and pixels becoming more and more inefficient. Just to give people more context on iOS 14, on Facebook, if a user does not consent to being tracked on their mobile device, and Facebook recognizes a conversion from that user, but they said that they don't want to be tracked, Facebook cannot accept that conversion. So conversion data is going to be more and more scarce as things with privacy continue to occur and come up.
This is the part of the episode where I just get out of Silvio's way because he's running laps around me when it comes to this stuff. So walk me through that Salesforce integration, and I guess what is that able to provide B2B marketers?
Yeah, so basically, just to take a step back, the way it works is whenever somebody clicks on your ad, so in this case Google, there is a click ID associated with that click. What we're doing is we're capturing that click ID, and we are capturing it into your marketing automation tool, and we're basically capturing that click ID and then that lead record. So we can say, hey, this lead came from this Google ad based on this click ID, and then we can re-upload that conversion into Google Ads so that they can understand, hey, a conversion happened. So by associating the click ID and the actual lead record, it's a real lead because you can actually look it up in your database, right? And using the click ID, that's how you're able to combine the two together. And you can do a bunch of cool stuff. So you can push, new leads, new MQLs, new SQLs, whatever your sales funnel looks like, new opportunities. You can even do some really cool things such as value-based bidding, which Google is moving more and more towards, where essentially, because you're pushing that opportunity data back into Google Ads, you can also push the opportunity amount. So essentially, Google can start to prioritize these different conversion actions for you. Right? The smarter you can make Google to drive the outcomes you want, the better off you're going to be. The simplest way to do this is you can just create a conversion action for new lead, new MQL, new SQL, whatever your flow looks like. And you can just assign like a dollar value for a new lead, $2 for a new MQL, $3 for an SQL, $4 for an opportunity. And that's enough to just have Google be able to say, hey, an opportunity is worth more to this business than a lead. So let's prioritize driving more of that.
So I'm going to pretend like I know what I'm talking about here. I believe they call that G-CLID for those in the know, right?
Yeah, that's right.
So
yeah, G-CLID. Facebook has it too. Facebook has a click ID. You can do the same thing with Facebook. It doesn't have to just be the Salesforce integration. So HubSpot also has a direct integration with Google Ads, and HubSpot actually makes it easier where you can easily upload those events into the Google Ads interface for conversion tracking. You can also, if you don't have HubSpot or Salesforce, you can do this with like a third-party tool such as Zapier. And the main thing you're trying to do is you're just trying to store the G-CLID onto the contact record and then push that offline conversion back into the tool. And you can use Zapier to do that.
Legit. All right. The next big thing to look out for in 2022. So Google's added quite a bit around automation and like new Performance Max and discovery campaign types. So for the listeners, including myself, who need to know what that means and how it's going to impact them, give us your take. You
said the P word, Performance Max. Yeah, it's, I think right now the Google Ads community is, I would say, the most part terrified with Performance Max, in the sense of, basically, for those listening, Performance Max is a new campaign type that Google is testing right now, where they will basically automate everything. So they'll be able to deploy your campaigns on search, on YouTube, on Discover. So essentially, you give Google all your different assets, and then they're fully in control, and they will deploy your assets across all the different Google properties that they own. So it's like automation at its fullest. It's currently in test. I've only ran one Performance Max campaign. My performance was not the best. From other people that I've spoken to in the industry, they haven't had a lot of success with it. So I think it's early. It'll be interesting to see what they're doing. But the main takeaway here is Google is moving more and more towards automation, right? Performance Max is one example of that. They also have things such as smart campaigns, which is like simplified campaigns that you create. Whenever you create a Google ad campaign, they ask you what your goal is, your objective. And what people don't realize is when you choose those different objectives, what they're really doing is they are auto adjusting the campaign settings that you have available. So for example, if I choose my objectives to like drive leads, then they're going to filter the bid strategies available. They're going to filter the different settings available that I can choose from based on what they think is going to allow me to, drive that goal that I'm after. Versus if I just choose like, no goals guidance, basically like you can choose like, basically like you don't have a goal and that you want all the options, you have all the different tools available and you can choose whatever you want. But all these different things essentially Google is trying to do to make things more automated, more streamlined. So that way advertisers don't have to be, performance marketing experts and they can just let Google do all the heavy lifting.
So I'm going to ask you to get back on your soapbox here in a second. Now, whether it's Google ads or Facebook ads or LinkedIn ads or, whatever ad channel you're using, oftentimes they are making recommendations that you sometimes should not listen to because it will get you to spend more money and run more money through their platform because that's how they make
Wait, are you
money.
saying I shouldn't include search and display in the same campaign?
So get back on your soapbox and tell me and everyone who's listening, like what are some of the things that, hey, yes, you're seeing it in Google ads as a recommendation, but think twice before you accept that right away or listen to it.
Yeah, biggest one that comes to mind is if you just listen to Google, at the end of the day, Google wants you to do two things. They want you to use pure broad match on your keyword, so pure broad match, and they want you to use automated bidding. So if you ask a Google rep, that's what they're going to recommend. And there is a time and place for that, but for most advertisers, that's not the place where you want to get started. So pure broad match is literally telling Google, hey, Google, show my ads for any searches that you deem remotely relevant based on your machine learning prowess. And it sounds great in theory, but in terms of like actual reality, it can be really challenging, right? You're going to show up for a lot of junk. So what I always recommend to new Google advertisers is to start as laser focused as possible. So I think about it in terms of two parts. Like you really you need to nail down the traffic piece, and then from there you need to nail down the conversion piece. So setting up your Google ad campaigns, really leverage things such as phrase match, exact match, match types. So that way you're really showing up to the highest quality searches possible. And if your search terms report is as close to perfect as possible, then from there you've kind of nailed the traffic part. Now the other side of the equation is all about the conversion piece. Is your landing page converting? Is it, is there a message match where your keyword you're adding your landing page are in alignment? Does your landing page follow best practices? Can I understand what you do in 5 seconds or less? All that stuff is going to go into making sure you're converting that traffic. But yeah, if you ask Google, they're going to tell you to do pure broad match and to leverage automated bidding.
If you take anything away from this episode, and hopefully you take away a whole lot, I feel like that was the gold of what to avoid and how to not burn your budget, because we've all been there before.
Yep, unfortunately.
Awesome. And then the last thing that I was reading in the article was just around digital privacy. So I feel like it's a new day. It's a new privacy breach somewhere. Google's updated their privacy playbook. So I guess what does that mean for advertisers, and is there anything that they need to know?
As of right now, nothing alarming for us. I would say in the future, if Google decides to play by similar rules as Facebook, then that's when we are going to have to really make some changes. Right now, with Google Ads using server-side conversion tracking, whether that's through Salesforce, HubSpot, Zapier, whatever it is, but doing those offline conversion imports, that's going to improve your measurement by like 95% in terms of accuracy. But with Facebook, you can do offline conversion imports, and it still is not going to recognize all the conversions because people have to complicitly comply to being tracked, right? So you're always going to have a conversion deficit. So moving into the future of Google Ads, the two things that are going to be the most important is high quality conversion data that is tied to your CRM, and then, creating high quality audiences. So as things happen with privacy and things like that, these channels are not going to be able to track users based on certain things like third party segments, etc. So audience targeting is going to be scarce as well. So if you can get as much high quality audience targeting, and you can track things based on real conversions offline, and you can feed this high quality data into the ad channel so they know how to better optimize, and then you can leverage all these, different great audience sources, then that's going to really give you a key advantage.